कायच धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः। जननीं शारदां देवीं रामकृष्णं जगद्गुरुं पादपद्मे तयो श्रुत्वा प्रणमामि मुहुर्मुहुः। नमः श्री यतिराजाय विवेकानन्दसूरये सच्चित्सुखस्वरूपाय स्वामिने तापहारिणे। ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। Somebody wrote and gave some questions because I think the person didn't want to ask in front of everybody. But we should never feel shy of asking questions. If you want to get anything clarified, you should ask. Anyway, first question is, the way our gross body is made up of elements of periodic table, our material body is made up of elements of Indian cosmology, Vayu, etc. Both are compound in nature. On death, it's not possible for both of them to be dissolved into their original elements. How does the movement of mental body, Sukshma Sharira, 1% is possible? First of all, the idea is not correct. Both the gross and subtle bodies are made of the same elements only. Whatever you see in the periodic table is the next evolute, less than that. The original is all the Panchabhutas, Prithvi, Aptej, Vayu, Marut, Akash, these are the five. So, the gross, from the gross part of it comes the physical body. Also, there is a process called Panchikaran where some portion of gross is taken, some is subtle taken. That's how the world, etc. is constructed. So, because the gross body is from the gross elements, it disintegrates. The subtle body is from the subtle elements, so it goes. In fact, the subtle body also undergoes a lot of changes during the lifetime or even when it goes next life. So, there is no question of the subtle body completely disintegrating. It doesn't apply there. So, then there is, as per the Upanishad, stuff of the universe, Atma, Chaitanya, etc., never changes. It has no role to play as we move through awakening, dreaming, the sleep state of life. Again, these are all not correct statements. Everything is happening because of the Atman only. It doesn't participate like our Stula Sharira or the Indriyas, etc. But everything is happening. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विदितो भाति कुतो हिमग्निः तमेव भान्त मन भाति सर्वम तस्य भाषा सर्वमिदं विभाति. It says. So everything is happening because of that only. The Atman, through its, because of that only we see, we hear everything. So everything is because of that. So, as we move through our struggle of life, a constant interaction with Maya. We understand Maya is a relative phenomenon. It's not more important to focus on Maya rather than belittling it to make our life better. Again, this is not exactly the way, because Maya is not something we interact with. Maya is just a statement, as Swamiji says. It is as things are. It is a description of what it is. So it is nothing like Maya to be interacted separately. Maya is also related to Ajnana. Ajnana is to be overcome. If you have to realize the true nature of ourselves, you have to go beyond Maya, realize our true nature. If you want to live in this world, yes, happily whatever you want you can do. But this happiness sector is very transitory. That's what you will read in the Upanishads also. So that way, Maya is not something, is anything external which we really handle that way. Maya is something which has a hold over the whole universe. Whatever you see as appearance is all due to Maya only. Otherwise it's all only this Chaitanya. So it is explaining the state of affairs. It is not giving anything, it is not a separate entity that way, it is not something which can be identified.
Maharaj, yesterday you also mentioned Vidyamaya and Avidyamaya. Can you just expand on that?
Yeah, because, whatever we do, even our spiritual striving, our participation, our puja, the good work that we do, charity, participation, they're all part of Maya only. So, Vidyamaya leads us to a higher state of evolution. From there you can go reach higher. But Avidyamaya pulls us down. Our desires, kama, krodha, all those other feelings, negativities, all that they come under Avidyamaya, which our ashakti, our attachment, it pulls us down. So Vidyamaya will take us forward in our spiritual life that way. But ultimately, even that has also got to be overcome. Dreams are constructed in mind and hence false. My world, Loka, is also a dream of Ishvara and false. In this kind of argument, how can we explain the dreams of Ramanuja? He used to get solutions of mathematical problems in his dreams. Many of the scientists are also reportedly got their solutions in dreams. There are many dream instances in Ramakrishna, Sarada and their parents' lives. Can we consider dreams? Definitely Kali Mandir came into because of dream. Can we conclude these are all different people? That as different people of waking state are differently conscious, so are the dreams of different people are differently. No, you see, these dreams are also ultimately false. The Dashaneshwar temple was built, but that is also is going to go one day. In an ultimate sense, that has also no existence. If you consider consciousness the only reality, is also an imposition on that, is an abhas, is the what you call an upadhi on that consciousness only. So Ramanujam's whatever he did in mathematics, yes, in a relative world it is in a sense. But when you consider the ultimate, what is Einstein or Ramanujam or anybody, they are all only of the same quality only in that sense. So in an ultimate sense, all these have no value. But in a relative sense, yes. So Dakshineshwar, Kali Radhamani had Dakshineshwar, it came. Otherwise somebody else would have got a dream. Or without dream, somebody else would have built it. So in the world, so many activities go on under so many pretexts. But this has only relative existence, meaning only in this world. There is nothing beyond that. So within that, yes, like a story within, even within dream we get dreams. In dream, you are scolding yourself like that. So there is a difference in that the category of the dream or the value or the relative ideas within the dream. So then you are negating something even in the dream itself. Dream itself saying, oh, it's all dream, don't look at that. That's also part of dream. So that way, all these are all under one category only. Dreams, we cannot say that they have separate consciousness and dreams and all that. Dream depends upon the capacity of the mind to imagine and bring out, that's all. Its own samskaras, its own past.
Mathematical formulas are different, na? The way Ramanujan...
Yeah, so what? It came...
Those are not false, that is...
No, it's nothing. See, mathematical formulas have only value here. Even the greatest discoveries have value only here. If you negate the whole world, en masse, formulas, Ramanujan, all lock, stock and barrel, all will fall.
Maharaj, in this context, I'd like to ask, Ma Sarada had a dream of initiating Yogin Maharaj. And Yogin Maharaj too had a similar dream. So how do we interpret that?
Yeah, you see, the point is, there are different schools of thought. If you accept Dvaita, if you accept Bhagwan, if you accept Ishtadevata, all these are all valid in that. See, they don't even negate. They say it's God's creation. They accept the world. In Ramanuja's philosophy, the world is not negated as dream or unreal. They say it is God's creation. So you must understand what is your philosophy, what do you want to follow, what is your sadhana. Accordingly, everything will have a value or a meaning. So in a Dvaita philosophy, or when you accept God, Ishta Devata, etc., it's very valid, no problem. Inverted Ashwatha tree in the Kathopanishad. For Brahman, what is up and what is down? It's a relative term. As rishis used to see the world in their mind directly, bypassing the instrument called I, do they used to see the entire? No. The rishis never used to see anything inverted. They used to see as normal only. They are explaining as against a normal tree, this tree that is imagined is where the everything is rooted in Brahman at a higher level. Then the manifestation, everything is coming out of that. Normally, no, in a tree, everything is at the roots. From here it goes up. But there, the truth, Urdhva Moolam Adashakam. The Moola is, the roots are above in Brahman, in reality. From that, all this manifestation, other evolutes, etc. come. So to compare the manifestation of the world, etc., they imagined an inverted tree, unlike a normal tree. How to explain the concept of evolution, etc. That shloka will come if necessary. We can see what it says there.
It's basically symbolic.
Symbolic. Instead of explaining that, there's an analogy which, since we understand tree, roots, shaka, etc., they took this analogy to explain what it is like. So, you know how Nasiketa, that is the last sloka of the Prathamavali, where, slowly all the offers he negated, because all the, even if you say the few slokas, Matlika Sarvan Kama Sapratyasva Ima Sarada Sukirya. So, whatever was offered to him, he clearly explained why there are so many things, but if you are, he offered everything, Taveva Vaha Tavanetri Gita, he said, you take all that because all these are all going to go away, perish one time or other, you yourself will intervene and take them away. So that way, in a very detailed explanation he gave, who below on this earth, knowing that he is subject to decay and death, all that sense pleasures. If you understand, see, why people are in this world so busy. They think that's what, in that same famous in Dharmaputra, Akshapragya and Mahabharata, it says, what is the greatest wonder in this world? We see constantly people dying, yet we think that we are going to live for eternity. But if someone understands that death is lurking around the corner, any time it can come, that's the reality. This very moment we can die. But if you understand it very seriously, will you be busy with the pleasures of the world, etc., etc.? So another Upanishad says, Dipta Shika, if your head is burning, can you take it? You will run and search for water, how desperate you will be. So if you understand the unreality of the world, you will search for the truth, rather than busy with all those desires and so on. So he says, people have always debated about whether there is self or not. What happens after this? Yaspinidam mesikitsanti mrityu yat samparaye mahati bruhi nastat yoyam varo godamana prabhishtu nanyantasman Nasiketa. Nasiketa does not desire anything else, because he wants to know the real truth, what happens after death. And we go to the chapter, first chapter, the second chapter. So then he says, Anyasriyot anyaditeva preyaha tevabhe nanarte purusham sinitaha tayo sri adadanasya sadhu bhavati hiyate tadya upreyo vrinite. So good and the pleasant, we have seen this, I think. First. So, there are always in these two things, the good and the pleasant, Shreya and Preya. Shreya is something that will lead you to the ultimate. Preya is that which lead you to bondage. But those who are not aware of this, those who don't have a inkling for anything higher, those who are satisfied in this world, those who live in the world of senses, so they will only be interested in prayer. They will never look towards Shreya. Of course, later on the sloka will come here itself. Why? Because in our very construct, in our very nature, we are made like that. Paranchikani vitina swayambhu parang pashyate nantaratma kasyid dhiraha patigatmanam aikshat avrita chakshu amrtatvam ichan. It will come. So God, in nature, creation, we are made like that. All our senses are going outward constantly, never inward. So obviously, there's always a tendency to, everything is alluring, everything is attracting. You are so much desirous of enjoyment, unending participation. So they will only be, finally, they will never get that true happiness. See, all these things, whatever we do, so transitory, the so-called good things, good life, everything, you go on a tour, you go on a this thing, just 3 days, bus, 5 days, 10 days. Many people, even during that, they suffer constantly because they can't even enjoy that fully. Even if you do, it's not going to be very great that way, because it's all question of time. However much wonderful food you may eat, go to a 10-star hotel and eat, pay 10,000 rupees, but after 2 hours again you have to eat. Can you tell your stomach, no, you have taken 10,000 rupees for 1 month, no food? It will listen. You get lost, you give me a tea, it's tea time. That's what your stomach will say. So all the enjoyment, etc., are so temporary, so transitory, still we are so much after it. That's why he says, Shreyascha preyascha manushya tav samprite vivinakti dhiraha Shreyo hi dhiro bhi preyaso vrinite preyo mando yogakshemat vrinite. सबको सामने दो ही है. आप श्रेय की पथ पर जा सकते हैं, श्रेय प्रेय की पथ पर जाते हैं, लेकिन दोनों के परीक्षा करके जो धीर व्यक्ति वो श्रेयस की तरह आगे बढ़ाते हैं. लेकिन द पर्सन इज शॉर्ट साइटेड प्रिफर्स प्लेजेंट, क्या वो जाते हैं सब कुछ इस शरीर में है. दिस फेमस स्टोरी ऑफ Indra and Virochana. He went and saw, and Virochana learned that everything is body only, and he started strengthening his body and doing everything. But Indra went back again and again until he got the Brahmajnana. And it goes on, he says, I tempted you again, you did not succumb. So, दूरमेते विपरीते विशूचि अविद्याया च विद्येति ज्ञाता विद्या बीप्सिनं नचिकेतसं मन्ये नत्वा कामा बहो आलोलुपन्त. Secular citizens are opposite ends, secular learning and spiritual learning. Whatever Ramanuja did and Einstein did, they are all on one side. But what Ramana Maharshi did or Ramakrishna did, they were all totally different. Because these are all, whatever Einstein did, somebody else will come and say it is wrong. They will go beyond that. But what the eternal truths discovered by great spiritual scientists, they are there forever. That's the difference. One is transitory, temporary, for a certain period of time. Even in the lifetime, they are quite often defeated and something new comes. But this is something eternal, and that will show the path to millions of people. नचिकेता, I found you intent on spiritual learning. मैं सब कुछ आपके ऑफर किया, but what do other these? अविद्यायाम अंतरे वर्तमानाः स्वयं धीरा पंडितम मन्यमानाः द्रमदम्यमानाः पर्यन्ति मूढ़ा अंधेनेव नियमानाः यथान्धा. What do people think that? Steeped in worldliness, think that अरे ये सब आश्रम छोड़ो यार, क्यों जा रहे हैं, अरे आ जाओ मेरे साथ आ जाओ. So they lead others also, like one blind leading the other. Ande neva niyamana thandaha andakupe patanti. Somewhere it is given. Both of them fall into the well. क्योंकि वो भी खुद ही अंधे हैं, वो दूसरे की कैसे ले जाएगा? So people who are deeply engrossed, steeped in worldly pleasures, they think that they are intelligent and they know the scriptures well. So उन लोग ऐसे ही विपरीत अर्थ करते हैं, अरे ऐसे सब नहीं बोला, ऐसे नहीं है, ऐसे समझो करके गलत रास्ता दिखाते हैं. So there are, it says, nasam paraha paribhati balam pramadyantam vittamohena mudam ayam loka nasti pareti mani punah punar vashamapadyate me. It says, worldly people attached to their families, family with itna, they may also be very proud of their wealth. The world mesmerizes them and they become childish. They think that the world they see around them is the only world, and they do not believe there is anything other world. You see, if you first of all, the whole thing, the whole search for spiritual life or anything begins when you understand there is something beyond this world. Is it not? आपकी दृष्टि, सोच, समझ यही धरती तक सीमित रहे, आपके और कुछ करना ही नहीं है. Only when you think that this world is impermanent, evanescent, anitya, जाने वाले हैं 2 दिन के लिए, किसी ना किसी वक्त आपको एक बार पता चले, then only you think of something higher. Otherwise there is nothing for you to think about. So that's what it says. They think the world they see around them is the only thing. They do not believe there is any other world. Therefore, never accuse them they should perform duties preparatory for their journey to the next world. मृत्यु के बाद क्या होगा, उसके लिए क्या मैं तैयारी करूं, क्या होने वाला है, मैं कहाँ जाऊं? It's a very extremely interesting question, is it not? What happens when we die? Do you ever really think that? शरीर चले जाने के बाद क्या होता है? It is the end of everything, or is there anything beyond that? So if those things are there, then it is life is different. That's why he says, such people come under my control again and again. Yama says, मेरा अंदर ही उन लोग है. श्रवणायापि बहुभिर यो न लभ्यः श्रीमन्तोपि बहु यम न विद्युः आश्चर्य वक्ता कुशलोऽसि लब्धः आश्चर्य ज्ञाता कुशलानुशिष्टः. इसे बहुत लोग सुनते हैं, लेकिन बहुत लोग का सुनने का ही मौका नहीं मिलता है. मान लीजिए कठोपनिषद और कोई उपनिषद का कोई शास्त्र सुनने का भारत में 140 करोड़ भारतवासी है. कितने का सुनने का मौका मिलता है पहले पता ही नहीं होगा, लग रहा है. ऐसा कोई है क्या? बिकॉज ऑफ कोर्स डिवोटी यूज्ड टू कम टू श्री रामकृष्ण. श्री रामकृष्ण पूछा उनके कि तुम्हें कि पंचदशी पढ़ो ना कि डू यू रीड बुक्स लाइक पंचदशी? ओ मोशा वो की what is this? He thought it is something like French or German. So anyway, Sri Ramakrishna was happy because without knowing, if you read it will all only confuse you. So he was happy he didn't know about it. But generally, even many, if you talk about Shastras, all that, these are completely, people don't even get an opportunity. ये भी मान लीजिए भगवान का बहुत आशीर्वाद से आपको कुछ सुनने का मिलता है, कम से कम. ऐसे कोई जगह आके बैठ के हम लोग 3 दिन पढ़ रहे हैं, सुन रहे हैं, ये बहुत भाग्य की बात है. And then even among those here, many do not grasp what it means. ये आत्मन क्या है इसके बारे में सुनना, सुन के समझना फिर भी मुश्किल है. And then very few are the persons competent to teach about the self. Those who in self knowledge have to be very accomplished. इसलिए ऐसे इसके बारे में ठीक से समझाने वाले गुरु आचार्य जन आश्चर्य बोलते वक्ता, one who talks about it is like that very rare. Anybody can, you understand little English or translation or Sanskrit to come and teach. No, that will not make any impact. Very, two very important things. Swamiji says somewhere, a person comes and gives wonderful lecture, language, diction, everything is wonderful. No impression on the audience. Other person, not so good in his language or diction and everything, makes a tremendous. Why? Because of his personality, of his life. Latu Maharaj never used to give any lecture. He was illiterate, literally illiterate. श्री रामकृष्ण बहुत प्रयास किया उनकी अक्षराभ्यास करने के लिए, फेल हो गए, क्योंकि वो हिंदी बांग्ला मिला के ऐसा कोई किचड़ी बनाया, ठाकुर छोड़ दिया, हाल छोड़ दिया, अरे होगा नहीं, तुम छोड़ो. But that person was the greatest of Brahmagyanis. It's such realization. Here that slokas will come. Angushta matra purushantaratma. When he heard the sloka, when Pandit explaining in Benares, एकदम चमके उठले, चकित हो गए. बस वापस आते समय उनकी दूसरी साधु लेके गया. वो आगे जा रहे, रास्ता दिखा के, महाराज पीछे जाते, सुधीर सुधीर, क्या महाराज, आज पंडित ठीक बोला, आज पंडित, सारा रास्ता बीच बीच में रोक रोके हुए बोलते, आज पंडित ठीक बोला. रात 1 बजे सुधीर मास की घर कोई खटखटा रहे. अरे ये रात कौन है? कॉल के देखिए, महाराज अपनी ये रात. अरे सुधीर, आज पंडित ठीक बोला. Because you see, he has not read. It was impossible for him to read anything. He has never read the Upanishads. But when somebody said something exactly tallying with his experience, he was simply elevated to another world altogether. He was so overjoyed by the experience. So, and later on people used to come to him. There is a very big book called Satprasanga, his conversation with Datu Maharaj. Such wonderful exposition of truths, simple in his own language. It was so direct. So, the speaker has to be extraordinary, and also the highly accomplished, the Shrota also has to be like that. Unless you are really, that's why we have so many qualifications, the sadhana, etc., etc. Then he says, what is Samit Pani, Shrotriya, Brahmanishta, ऐसा आचार्य के पास आपको जाना है. कैसे? Because they used to have these yajnas for which they need firewood. वो समित पानी वन से संग्रह करके श्रद्धा के साथ जो साधन से संपन्न व्यक्ति ऐसे आचार्य के पास जाएंगे. आचार्य कौन है? श्रोत्रिय, ब्रह्मनिष्ठ, अकामहत. और कोई एकदम he is so well versed in scriptures, a Murtiman, embodiment of scriptural truths, Brahmanishta, established in Brahman, अकामहत, उसकी कोई वासना कुछ नहीं, संपूर्ण रूप से खत्म कर दिया सबको, ऐसा टीचर. तब आप सुनने तुरंत, if such a person goes, immediate.
So when you were talking about Latu Maharaj, yesterday you also spoke about Aporoksha Gyan and Paroksha Gyan. So Aporoksha Gyan was self-experience.
Direct.
So then I'm just trying to correlate. So what Latu Maharaj spoke about was his Aporoksha Gyan.
No. Yes. What he had really realized, that he acknowledged whatever he had realized, when he heard that Paroksha Gyan from that Pandit, that matched with his Aporoksha, what he had experienced. So ऐसे लोग शिक्षा देने में खुद ही आपकी धन संपत्ति के प्रति नजर है, ऐसे है, विवेक नहीं, वैराग्य नहीं, ऐसे कोई कुछ नहीं होगा. Sri Ramakrishna used to give very beautiful, very telling examples. You need power. You always say chapras. ब्रह्म समाज में जाके बोलते हैं, आप सब इसे वेदी से बैठ के बोलते हैं, कौन सुनता है क्या? कुछ भी इसे, because unless you are, Sri Ramakrishna says, भगवान से आदेश मिलना ऐसे नहीं आप समझ लिया, स्वयं आके बताएंगे. इतना तक कहा उन्होंने. आदेश इज नॉट समथिंग आप इधर उधर कुछ नहीं, आप समझ रहे हैं हाँ भगवान मैंने आदेश किया, ऐसा नहीं है, समझना नहीं है, खुद आके बताएंगे. Imagine how difficult it is to become a teacher. He says otherwise people will hear and go away. No impact. Nothing will happen. Life will not change. Used to say a beautiful example. There is a very beautiful pond in Kamarpukur. So उसमें सब सुबह नहाने के लिए जाते थे, सब देखो सब गंदा करके रखा, हर रोज गालियाँ देते हैं, लेकिन अगले दिन आके वही है. अंत में उन लोग ब्रिटिश कंपनी वाला के ब्रिटिश वो एक कंप्लेन किया, उन्होंने कि नोटिस लगा दिया यहाँ कोई ऐसा गंदा करना मना है, अगले दिन सब बंद. Because it's a power, suppress. So otherwise, only simply hearing and nothing will happen. Naisha, not only that, you see, slowly how he says, first of all, the disciple has to be, should not have any conflicting thoughts in mind, etc. Reasoning established are fine. See, that is why, संपूर्ण रूप से श्रद्धा संपन्न होना. श्रद्धा इज आस्तिक्य बुद्धि. आप एक टीचर के पास जाते हैं, लेकिन आपका मन में बिल्कुल ये सुनने के लिए जो बोलेंगे वो ग्रहण करने के लिए बिल्कुल तैयार है. अदरवाइज he says, if you have conflicting views, आपका टीचर बताया, दूसरे लोग के आश्रम को बता देंगे, आप वो ले लेंगे, ये छोड़ देंगे. There are people who go morning to mission, afternoon to art of living, evening to ईशा फाउंडेशन. ऐसे नहीं होगा. आप जो कर रहे हैं वो ठीक से करना चाहिए, क्योंकि जो भी आप अच्छा इच्छा है, लेकिन वो विश्वास से, दृढ़ता से आपका संपूर्ण मन लगा के साधन करना चाहिए. एक जीवन में भी नहीं होगा. आप दिन में 3-3 बार क्या आपका प्राप्त होगा? कुछ नहीं होगा. Not only that, he says, नैषा तर्केन मतिरापनेया प्रोक्तानेनैव सुज्ञानाय प्रेष्ठ याम त्वमाप सत्यद्युतिर्बतासि त्वादृङ्नो भूयान् नचिकेतः पृष्ठा. सी बोसेन, तुम्हारी तो बहुत अच्छी इंसाइट है. सो यू हैव नॉट अराइव्ड दिस टू रीजनिंग. नैषा तर्केन मतिरापनेया, ऐसा यू हैव नॉट applied to reasoning. You have attained this from someone who did not depend on reasoning but studied the scriptures and realized itself. आप तो इसके जो प्राप्त करे मेरे से, you did not say me. From someone who has studied the scriptures, realized their import and then come. So naturally, it is not that उनका कोई परोक्ष ज्ञान नहीं, जिनका अपरोक्ष ज्ञान है उनसे आप सुन रहे हैं. ये भी नचिकेता सुन रही हैं, वो भी अपरोक्ष नहीं है, परोक्ष ज्ञान ही है, लेकिन आपकी स्टार्टिंग वहाँ से होगा ना. आपका पहले तो पता होना चाहिए, जानना चाहिए, यू मस्ट अंडरस्टैंड, लर्न. उसके बाद आप गहराई से जब साधन करेंगे, when the truths really strike you as very valid and extremely important and good, then you really go to that realization or anubhuti. So he says, you have truly understood. May have many more seekers. आपकी तरह बहुत सारे ऐसे कोई व्यक्ति आए तो कितना अच्छा होगा, करें. Yes. Then we go to the first chapter, first canto, second chapter, 12th verse. It's a very nice verse. Tam durdarsham gudam anupravishtam guhahitam gahvareshtam puranam adhyatma yogadi gamena devam matva adhiro harsha shoko jahati. It's a very, very important sloka. So he says, Durdarsham. This self is very difficult to see. कोई इसका देख नहीं पाता है. Gudam anupravistam guhahitam. Lying deep within everyone, hidden in the intellect and beyond the reach of the sense organs is this timeless self. Then, Adhyatma Yogadi Gamena Devam. A wise person, realizing this self within himself, goes beyond pleasure and pain. So, what is the real import or real purpose of all this? ये सब अध्यात्म विद्या से क्या लाभ है? क्यों ऐसा करें? समय नष्ट करके 3 दिन पैसा खर्च करके यहाँ क्यों आना क्या है? Because ultimately people want to get rid of sorrow. Is it not? Shokam tarati atmavid. So one who realizes Atman goes beyond sorrow. But here he says, he goes even further. Harsha shoko jahati. Goes beyond even sukha and dukkha both. So one can say, if there is no sukha and sukha will be like lifeless stone. If that is is there any labh in that? But this going beyond sukha and dukkha is not that. It is not that you don't understand anything. It's not that you are absolutely senseless. You have gone through all that. See, as an inanimate object, has it ever experienced sukha or dukkha? If a person, a human being, if he goes beyond sukha and dukkha, what does it mean? It's not like an inanimate object going through all, because they have never ever experienced. But you have experienced all that. So going beyond that what? Understanding all that, realizing the impermanence of all that, and going to a state where you are not completely affected or bothered in any way whatsoever. So that is the real meaning of going beyond sukha and dukkha. Again one might ask, दुख तो कोई नहीं चाहते हैं, दुख के अतिक्रम करना तो अच्छा है, अरे सुख तो हम लोग चाहते हैं, क्यों सुख छोड़ें? But sukha is also in another form dukkha only. Because sukha and dukkha, they go on in cycles, like day and night. What is sukha today? That very moment. Again, let us take the same idea, Rasagulla. Rasagulla is very nice. Eat 1, 2, 3, 4, sukha becomes dukkha. So whole life is like that. Whatever you do, anything, इतना पैसा करोड़ों रुपया खर्चा किया, शादीशुदा हुआ, 10 दिन के बाद सब खत्म. So all sukha goes into dukkha only. It's a question of time. So apparently it's showing a hidden face. It's putting on a mask. Dukkha is far better because at least it straight comes and hits us. Sukha gives a false hope as everything is good. And then suddenly one terrorist emerges from below, removing the mask. घर के अंदर आ गया, फिर मास्क खोल के बंदूक उठाते हैं. मेरे ले आया ना, मरो अभी. So that is the nature of sukha. So it's necessary to go beyond both sukha and sukha that way, because both are equally transitory, equally short-lived. What we call as sukha, what we celebrate. You see, every day you see what all we enjoy, what all we celebrate, what all we talk about. So all in no time it vanishes, just like that. आज इतना प्यार, अगले दिन एक दूसरे मुंह नहीं देख पाते हैं. अरे कल इतना प्यार, अरे कल तक खत्म हो गया, मैं समझ लिया. फिर 2 दिन के बाद फिर खत्म, फिर सब गले लगाना. So the game goes on endlessly. The world is such a deceitful place. How it deceives us in so many ways, gives us so many lollipops to make us not go in the right path and to distract us. जब भी आपके मन में थोड़ा वैराग्य होता है, थोड़ा भगवान के नाम ले लो, ऐसा कुछ लॉलीपॉप आ जाएगा. कहाँ से कुछ आया, कोई टिकट भेजा सिनेमा के लिए, तो कोई टूर जा रहे हैं, अरे हम लोग जा रहे हैं, आ जाओ. ठीक है, ऐसा बाद में होगा. भगवान तो कहाँ जा रहे हैं, यहाँ है ना, बाद में आ जाओ. Then we go. So sukha and dukkha is equally, sukha is more tempting and dangerous. That is why.
Sir, not having sukha also is dukkha.
Yes. इसी बहुत लोग वही दुख करते रहते हैं, मेरा कोई सुख नहीं करके दुख करते रहते हैं. So anything is like that. So then that naturally it is, if anything is there, that if it can be like that, which can take you beyond, then obviously that is most welcome and most wonderful. Now what he's saying, पहले ही तो बोल दिया दूरदर्शन. It is very difficult to see. People do not see, you can't see the Atman because all we talk about seeing is only what we do through our senses. But something which is beyond senses, जो अतीन्द्रिय जगत का मामला है, आप कैसे देखेंगे? देख नहीं पाएंगे. So but then he gives some hint. ऐसे कैसे कहाँ आप अनुभव कर सकते हैं? गूढ़म अनिप्रविष्टम गुहाहितम. So it is there in the heart, deep lies within the heart. That's why heart is considered so important. Moreover, in most of our traditional meditation techniques, you are asked to meditate on the heart. Heart is actually the seat of emotions. आप जो भी अनुभव करें ना, हृदय से बोला, आप हृदय से आपके धन्यवाद देता हूँ, हृदय से आपकी तारीफ करता हूँ. So the heart is the place where you really feel that. So heart is so important. Swamiji also says if there is a conflict between head and heart, obey the heart. Because the heart is always like that. So I think some Upanishads also guha hitancha. So the hridayena, it's experience in the heart. So it is, what is that? But deep within, it's like in a cave, there are maybe walls surrounding it. It's like that, deep within. So that, it is not visible normally. Not only that, he also uses another similar word called gahvareshtam. Guahitam, gahvareshtam are practically have the same meaning. It is more to emphasize, it is actually practically undetectable deep within. Deep within the heart, there's a kind of walls-like structures, like your ashas, your desires, your vasanas, your all those things that are negative, they are all covering it, like, completely obstructing our capacity to visualize or experience the Atman. All that our desires, vasanas, so many other negative things, our ajnana, they are completely covering that, not allowing us to have a vision of that. And then further to emphasize, not only in deep within also practically you cannot even कोई अंदाज भी नहीं कर सकते हैं, ऐसे ही गहराई पे वो प्रवेश करके चुपचाप बैठा हुआ. So the idea is, if at all you experience the presence, because staying there, it's lighting everything else. आपकी मन वृत्ति सब तो जड़ है, सबको उद्भासित करते हैं. Staying deep within, he enlightens, illumines all the vrittis, etc. Your man, buddhi, everything, so that you are able to function. उनकी छाड़ा तो कुछ भी नहीं होगा. न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम नेमा विदितो भाति कुतो यमन्य अग्नि ही. आग क्या है? चंद्रमा सूरज भी उसके बिना चल नहीं पाएंगे. So that is so. That which illumines everything is in your heart, deep within, but normally it is not. Then who gets it? Who is the wise person who realizes the self and who goes beyond pleasure and sorrow is Adhyatma Yoga Adhikam. What is Adhyatma Yoga? It is the yoga or the practice of, being established in Atman. आत्म विषय की ऐसी चर्चा, ऐसी अभ्यास, ऐसी मान लीजिए जो भी आप करेंगे, नेगेटिंग एवरीथिंग, नेगेटिंग दैट विच इज पेरिशेबल, नेति नेति, जिस तरह विचार की तरह, विवेक की तरह, ऑल दैट कम अंडर अध्यात्म योगा. इससे आपका हित होगा. बट देन
अंदर हृदय में जो है, sometimes it is called the moonlight. It is analyzed as moonlight, and sunlight is always present, the Atman, which is inside and outside also. So, and what we actually feel is the moonlight, kind of reflected sunlight. Now my question is, at death, sunlight is always present. If sunlight is the Atman,
sunlight is not Atman. Sunlight is shining because of Atman. Sunlight is not Atman.
Okay, but Atman is everywhere.
Everywhere.
So at death, the Atman is still within me, this frame.
Atman is not in the frame at all.
But when I am alive this frame.
No, it is not limited by this frame. See, our idea of life, etc., entire thing is because of Atman. But Atman is not specifically present as a separate entity in your physical body. Then it will be detectable, it will be perceivable, that will be experienced through a stethoscope, etc., etc. So Atman is not something physically present, but Atman is everywhere. In that sense, it is within you. Atman pervades everything, all jivas, jeev, jada, sab kuch. But actually, in reality, there is only Atman, nothing else. There are also such Upanishads where completely question the very world itself. Jagat kahan hai? Aise bhi. That is what Mandika Upanishad argues. There is nothing. Where is the Jagat? So then they take this Avasthatraya and they experience.
Question is, as per Katha Upanishad, at death, what leaves this physical body?
See, what leaves the physical body is our Sukshma Sarira and Karan Sarira. Sura Sarira remains. Our Vasanas, desires, etc., along with that Karan Sharira or the Anandamaya, that goes to the next body, and a suitable body, it goes and again takes place there, again sits there.
Maharaja, in Gita, like it is said, like it is like a thread in a garland, the Atman. So that means what? Like if just
कौन सी श्लोक में बोल रहे हैं गीता में?
Sutra Manigana Eva.
Sutre Manigana Eva, you see, like it's saying about Lord Krishna. See, just as I am like, it's also in a sense, in a necklace, there are so many diamonds or monies or the muktas. But the thread that is running through is that what keeps them together, and that's so important. So like that, Lord is present everywhere, like. Just as it's, but when you see the mala, you don't see his presence. You only see the mukta and the diamonds, etc. But in and through who is running, that Lord Krishna, he is that. In that sense, you can say, it is more clearly, explicitly said, but Atman is, it's more all-pervading, everywhere, everything, whatever you see as present is only Atman in some form or other. It's all Atman. Because of that only we have everything. The entire existence is duty. If it is not there, everything is gone.
It is the binding force that connects.
Of course, it will be only if you try to express more and more, we will only be bringing limitations. Must understand in a very general sense. It is the all-pervading power, energy, everything, whatever you might say.
So heart mentioned here in this sense, not a physical heart location.
Yeah.
It is the center of gravity.
No.
Gravity of the body also.
No, it cannot be physically identified like that. There is something called the spiritual heart, which is within our personality, which is not identifiable by any touch or feeling or anything. But that can be intuitively understood and intuitively felt also when you do intense sadhana at some point of time.
But it's normally between the...
No, it cannot be located like that.
Is it same as Antakarana?
No, Antakarana is mind.
Mind, sorry.
So, then the point, yeah.
So you mentioned desires, negativity, etc. covers our vision of Atman. Desires, negativity, all of this cover our vision of Atman. And staying deep within, Atman illuminates all the vrittis. Right? So vrittis are the sanskars which you spoke about yesterday. How do we correlate? Is there any correlation?
No, through vrittis you do something, because of vrittis you indulge, and that creates sanskars. And out of sanskars again vrittis arise. So it's a cycle like.
Cause and effect.
So because of the samskaras, the tendency, the thoughts that arise, they're all because of that. So the next is the vrittis give rise to thoughts. And thoughts lead you to action. Action leads you to again karma phala, sanskara, again vrittis, again thoughts, again action. It goes on like that. So, no, it's a very important discussion is also here. So, Adhyatma Yoga Adhigamena. So, that means, see, in that sense, how is this, how this is Atman revealed is because of the sadhana related, it's called as Adhyatma Yoga. So, then Atman related things, then ultimately, Atman also is to be known through the buddhi only. Just as other things, whatever we get in this world, there also the Atman comes. But then, is it like understanding or this thing about other things? There is that big difference. It is not because of this. So, in it gives rise to the, how to put it? Because you see, when you at some point, although it's all connected to buddhi and all that, then the real knowledge comes when the as far as buddhi, from buddhi, all the brahmakara vritti, etc., up to that it goes to destroy the ajnana. Otherwise, if it is revealed, if Atman is revealed by buddhi, then it also becomes buddhi dwara grahya ho jayega. Then it will lose its complete being beyond mind, beyond intellect, beyond everything. So at some point of time, but it is like in a very smaller way you can compare to what one example which Ramakrishna gives. Supposing your foot thorn has pricked your foot, then you use another thorn or another sharp thing to take it out and throw both. Like that, when you use your buddhi, then it takes you through that, you go to that level where through vichara and all that you reach a stage where all the other vrittis are lost. Then finally the brahmakara vritti remains. Then if you say brahmakara vritti leads to brahmajnana, then there will be brahmajnana and Brahman, again there will be dvaita, it's called dvaitapatti. Then at that stage what it says is, when you through Brahma, what is the real function as a brahmakara vritti? It only destroys ignorance and then it vanishes. Who destroys brahmakara vritti? That question does not arise. The moment the jnana is gone, along with that vritti is also gone, leaving only behind the Atman or the ever-shining self. So that's how they put it.
Thakur once told Nuner Putli Thakur Mapte giyechhe.
Yes.
And
Salt doll went to measure the ocean, it got inside and got lost. Yes. Yes. What are you trying to say through that?
Atman and Brahman through buddhi, if we think in that way,
it is, no, the point is, what he says is, beyond a point when what really is that self, one cannot say it in words. Just as, a salt doll went to measure the ocean, what is the ocean, what is that? It's again salt only. When the salt doll reached its source, it got merged. So there is nothing left for it to come back and give the information. Similarly, if you really realize your true nature, then you become one with that. There is no second entity for you to come and explain. Ilay Thakur also says, Brahma ki mukhe bola jana. What is Brahman? It cannot be expressed in words. Not only that, his own spiritual experience beyond a point, he would never be able to express. It was as if somebody was holding back. He said, no, I cannot, I'm not able to explain this. Like.
Or each individual has to go through that stage to realize that. Each individual, we can move to salt statue, he himself has to merge into that.
That's what happens. Merging also is not an effort. When you go to that state really, then you you lose your individual identity. You become one with that.